Hi, my name's Ruan and this is my channel, The Yorkshire Sew Girl. I have been promising to do a question and answer vlog for all you nosy people out there for ages. In fact, I think it's over a month ago that I kind of put up on my community tab about the fact that I was going to try and do this, and then I have not had a chance to fit it in whatsoever. So I've got half an hour and I'm like, right, just quickly log on to YouTube, quickly scribble down some questions and let's just see what happens, because I did write everybody's questions down meticulously and then I can't find those pieces of paper. So I have not prepped any of this. I've literally just gone in, picked out a few questions because there's quite a lot, so I'll probably have to do this over one or two vlogs. So I've quickly picked out just a few and I'll go through them, no prep whatsoever. It might be a bit tumbleweed, mightn't it? It might be a bit boring, you never know, but we'll see. And I'll just answer them as I come to them, basically. So I've got my cup of tea ready in my most expensive cup in the world. And I'm going to crack on because then I can literally just upload this. There probably won't be a Friday sews. To be honest, I haven't done any sewing, so not much to tell or chat about, or I've bought anything or anything interesting. So I'll do this instead of a Friday sews. That's what I will do. So that I'm still trying to upload at least once a week. So I don't think there's any particular order of any of these. It's going to be completely unpolished. It's just I'm going to just read them out and we'll go with it from there. So Adele Seaman put a question on my community tab when I asked people if they wanted to be nosy and find out anything about me. And her question was, what made me start vlogging? So I've not been vlogging for that long. I only started vlogging in lockdown. And the main reason that I did it is because I had started in lockdown to watch a lot of other YouTubers in the sewing industry. And I was really enjoying it. I'm a really visual person. So listening to something, podcasts and that, I've tried them. And whilst I think they're full of loads of information and they work really well for other people, I'm so visual that kind of doesn't do it for me at all. So I need to be looking at something. And I started watching people like Tamlin from Sewn on the Tyne, Michelle from the Sewing Bunny, Karen from So Little Time, Angela from Devon Thread Tales. There was quite a few, but mainly Tamlin and Michelle were the two that I kind of started watching, and I thought I quite enjoy watching these actually. This is quite interesting because I'm quite a social person. So I do normally have a lot of stuff in my diary, so I don't tend to have an awful lot of time to sew or do anything like that. And that's because I used to go to a sewing class once a week where there was 8 of us, and on a regular basis we used to all go every single week and do some sewing and just have a natter, and I loved that. And that was my time because I'm a busy working mum and just didn't have the time otherwise to do it. So I used to take my sewing machine with me and go and do it elsewhere. But then obviously lockdown happened and I didn't have any social occasions and I couldn't go to my sewing classes and things. So I started thinking about doing more sewing at home rather than elsewhere. And because I'd started getting a bit more interested and a bit more into it and started watching other people's vlogs, I kind of just thought, oh, I quite fancy having a go myself. But then I think a lot of people, when they're doing YouTube channels, they've got a lot of really good content. And what I mean by that is, for example, Michelle does sew-alongs, Tamlin does, educating people on fibres and types of fabric, etc. Sam from Frugalism educates everybody in regards to what free patterns are out there, discounts, competitions, etc. And I think that's really true, good content. And I kind of had a good think about it for a while and thought, wow, what am I actually going to get out of vlogging? Because I genuinely don't think I have the time to dedicate to doing a professional YouTube channel. So all the thumbnails and the beautiful pictures and the music and the tutorials and things like that. And I was like, oh God, maybe this isn't for me, because I don't know if I'm going to do any content that anybody at all is going to be interested in. So I dumped and hard about it for ages, and then I kind of thought, nah, I'm just not going to do it. And then one day, I was at home and I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to have a bash. I'm just going to practice. I'm going to get my phone out and I'm going to just record myself for 10 minutes and see what happens. Well, you didn't see that first vlog, that's all I'm going to say. I was literally bright red, huffing and puffing, my neck had gone all red. It was ridiculous. I stuttered, I was just all over the place, didn't even know what I was going to be talking about. So yeah, that wasn't really successful, the first one. But when I watched it back, I thought, do you know what? What's wrong with just being real? What's wrong with not having anything planned? What's wrong with just chatting? I'm not really doing it to get the subscribers and all that lot. Although I absolutely love, obviously, you guys coming back, because then there's a sense of community, isn't there? But I wasn't kind of doing it for any monetary gain or anything like that. It was just a bit of an outlet, really. So that's why I just come on and talk a load of tosh and waffle on and have absolutely nothing prepped, and I'm not very professional, and yeah, that's why I just film it on my phone and literally upload it. Sometimes I'll add some photos because I learned how to do that, but I think sometimes you don't realise how much work goes into it, and that's why I admire a lot of my fellow YouTubers, because, you know, doing all the graphics and the photography and even just putting all the descriptions below and having to tag all the links in and things like that, it can be really intense and labour intensive, I mean, from a amount of time point of view, and that's maybe one of the other reasons that I don't do anything other than just having a gas, because then I can just add some photos in, put my links in and upload it. So yeah, I was quite shocked then with how quickly my channel kind of got established. I think I was very lucky. I think the timing was just right, because everybody was in lockdown and everybody was looking for another outlet, something else to watch rather than the 100 films on Disney Plus that everybody's seen and all the series on Netflix. So I think I was quite lucky in regards to timing, really. And then obviously I did the collab with Sam from Frugalissima. So I had a lot of new people come into my channel and Instagram and things. So yeah, I don't really know why I started vlogging. I think it was just one of those things. I'm quite an out there person, so then having my social life constrained, I was a bit like, well, I love reading, you know, and things like that. I love watching movies, but other than that, I need something else to fill my time. I need to be productive. Yeah, so that's how it came about, and I don't know if I'll ever change the style of my vlogs. You know, I've had a lot of people say to me, oh, I could do you really nice thumbnails and you'd get more people subscribing, but you know what, this suits me. I just press the upload button and bish bash bosh, it's done. So that is what made me start vlogging. Did that even answer your question, Adele? Because I'm not so sure it did. I tend to go off on a tangent and then not really realise what it was I was originally saying. Anyway, the other thing that Adele asked me was, what is my favourite fabric designer and my favourite pattern company? Favourite pattern designer. Now, I really, really like Art Gallery fabrics. I've sewn with a couple of them and they're beautiful. The quality is stunning and they tend to always have florals, and I do like a good floral print, to be fair. And they're not, a lot of their patterns are quite bold. There's quite a lot that aren't, but the ones I'm drawn to are bold. And some of the first things I made were made with Art Gallery fabric, which is outrageous now, because I would never make a garment just like that out of Art Gallery fabric now, because it's so expensive. But sometimes I do think with fabric you get what you pay for. You know, I've bought a lot of cheap fabric and that serves its purpose, don't get me wrong, for a lot of garments. But sometimes when you just want that special thing, Art Gallery. I love Lady McElroy fabric. So I've sewn with a couple of Lady McElroy fabrics recently. Absolutely loved them as well. I absolutely love looking at things like Ruby Star Society, patterns, you know, Fabric Godmother do their own fabrics now. There's just so much out there. I think to pick a favourite, I would really, really struggle. And pattern company, favourite pattern company, I probably couldn't pick one. I think a lot of them serve different purposes for me. So I love Talina Buttons because it's simple patterns that can be put together quite easily and the instructions are really good. But from an aesthetic point of view, I really like Friday Pattern Company. I really like True Bias. So their aesthetic appeals to me. Instructions and how garments are constructed, I would probably say to Suit Your Fabric, because I've made a couple of their patterns and I love everything's hand drawn, which I quite like. So it's a lot of it's hand drawn, and also on a lot of their instructions they will put a couple of sentences in bold. So that's for if you've done these things before or you're more experienced, it just tells you quite simply what's in that step. But then if you're a beginner, underneath that, it has a more detailed instruction, which I think is quite clever. So if you've, constructed 100 pockets in your lifetime, you can just follow the bold couple of sentences. But if you are new to that construction method or you've never done that before, then you can read the instructions bit by bit. So I quite like them. But I am exploring more and more new designers and pattern designers at the moment, because there's so many out there to explore. It's just incredible. And I have made some big four pattern company patterns, but my heart lies more with the independents. I'm much more, I think their body shape and everything, what they draft for, etc., suits me a lot better. So I'm definitely more inclined to go independent rather than big four company. But in regards to having a favourite, I would find that incredibly difficult. So I can't answer that one. Sorry, Adele. Now, Victoria Lynn asked me something that quite a few people have asked me actually on this, and that is, what job do I have? You little nosy Parkers, that's what I always want to know as well when someone does a Q&A. Right, what job do I have? I work for a small export company. So I head up all of the business development for that company, and we are a food export company. So I have been there for 13 years, which is incredible to me. But it's only a small company and we are like a family, and I absolutely love every single person that I work with. I'm very, very privileged to work with people who I consider are my friends. So sometimes it feels like I'm almost not going to work because I'm just going to see my mates. Random, I know. Our business is run by a husband and wife team, and I've known them for a long time. So prior to this job, I used to work for Fox's Biscuits, and that's how I've met my bosses. And we export a lot of Fox's Biscuits products across the globe. So my job used to involve a lot of travel. I'm very lucky. I've been to South Africa, I've been to Dubai, I've been all over Europe. But obviously with COVID, etc., that's kind of not happening much at the moment. So I think when people say they travel with work, it sounds so glamorous, doesn't it? I remember thinking when I got this job, oh my God, it's going to be absolutely amazing. But actually it's quite hard work because you're not there for very long, and the time that you are there, you're in meetings. So sometimes you can travel to a country and not even see it, which is such a shame. I was very privileged. For example, the first time I went to South Africa, my customer's wife was actually a tour guide. So we squeezed all of my trip into a short space of time and then left one full day where she was kind enough to dedicate it to me, and she took me all over South Africa, and it was just awesome. So it was whistle stop tour type of thing, but it was just incredible. So yeah, so I'm the one that talks to new customers about the brands that we represent and goes to meetings and exhibitions and things like that. And I love it, absolutely love it. But I am mainly office based now, which is a little bit weird because I used to be out and about all the time. Whereas now we've kind of taken over, haven't we, with Zoom meetings and things like that, which is quite important for us, obviously, because we're dealing with a lot of people in different countries. So that's my job. So I'm very lucky because I work from home one day a week as well. yeah, so that's it. It's just not that exciting. It's just an office job, I suppose. But yeah, I love it, and I'm treated very well by my bosses. And yeah, I don't really want to go out into what we call the real world and get a different job because I'm very happy where I am. So yeah, I do know how lucky I am as an individual to have that flexibility as well. So that's what job I have. Oh, dropping my pen. See my pen as well, look at that. Oh yeah. I think Rachel from Stitched Up had one of these as well. I think I might have been shouting at the screen when she was talking about it in her vlog. I've got that. And the other question that Victoria asked me was, do I prefer to sew in small chunks or plough through? It's a good question, actually. There have been times where I've ploughed through, but sometimes after a couple of hours I lose my, not interest, my enthusiasm maybe is the word. Particularly if something's going wrong, I'm definitely more motivated by doing small chunks. So, and I think that is the case because of my home life as well, that I can't really dedicate a whole day to sewing, and I don't sew at night because I'm too tired at night. I'd make too many mistakes. I've done it every now and again when I've really wanted to hit a deadline or something, but yeah, evening sewing's not really for me. So yeah, definitely small chunks. In fact, I get a lot of satisfaction out of ticking off on my instruction sheets, you know, the few points that I've done, and then hanging it on my mannequin and kind of having a look at it and thinking, oh yeah, I've done quite well on that today. And I find if I sew in smaller chunks, I make less mistakes as well. Random, but true. Louise Campbell, she put a couple of questions, one of which was, what do I do for my job? Which you obviously know now. One of them was, what are my long-term sewing plans? Do I see myself wearing all handmade products? And I've thought about that quite a bit recently, actually, about what is my aim from my hobby of sewing. And I think it's important to remember that it is my hobby, and a hobby should be something that is enjoyed, and not to put too much pressure on myself, because I think sometimes when you get into the whole sewing community, there's so many inspirational people that literally wear all handmade garments, and I really do applaud that. I think it's absolutely awesome, and I'm not saying that I'd never get to that stage, but I think it's also important to accept that actually buying ready to wear is perfectly okay, and it's what majority of human beings do, to be honest. So I mean, if I had to set a target on it, I would love to be, say, 60% handmade, 40% ready to wear. You know, that if I had to put something against it, but I'm not gonna kind of kill myself to get to it. Obviously, I never used to have the time before to sew an awful lot, and I only ever used to do it in my sewing classes, so I didn't have that many handmade garments, whereas now I'm starting to build that up. But I'm still not at the point where I've got that much that actually I can go, right, I've got this missing from my wardrobe, so that's what I'm going to plan in. I'm just still at the point where I'm like, oh, I'm just going to make whatever I want, whenever I want it, for whatever occasion, which is a nice place to be. But I do foresee the more I do that, the more I'll then need to look in my wardrobe and kind of go, right, I need some staples here. I need something that's going to go with that outfit. So yeah, I don't have particularly any long-term sewing plans as such, but I would love to get to a point where majority of my wardrobe is handmade, rather than ready to wear. So that was Louise. Karen Latka, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, has asked, would I like to vlog and sew full time or pursue my career more? Now, I love my job, and I love sewing, and I worry that should I get more into the vlogging and make sewing more of my full-time, I don't know what the word is, that I would lose the enjoyment of it being a hobby. I have absolutely no intentions to leave my job because I love my job. But if someone said to me, you could knock your hours down a bit and do sewing in that time, then yes, please. But I ain't going to get paid for sewing. In fact, I'm spending money on sewing rather than getting paid. So yeah, it's definitely not on my radar to, you know, get paid from external companies and, you know, work freelance in regards to sewing. You know, I'm not saying that if I was ever in a situation where I didn't have my job that I wouldn't be looking in that direction, but for now I kind of, and I shouldn't say this really, but you know, when you have like not a crisis, confidence crisis, but you know, I feel sometimes, well, I'm not really good enough to warrant being freelance. I'm not experienced enough. I'm not, do you know what I mean? I just do it for fun, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't want to leave my career. I love my career. But if someone said to me, you could work less hours, or we'll pay you for full-time hours and you can do a bit of sewing in there, then happy days. But that's never going to happen, is it? Let's face it. I'm going to tick this off now. Okay, Gail H, she is on YouTube, asked how I managed to balance my family, work, sewing and vlogging. That's a really good question right now. I'm struggling to manage it, if I'm honest. I found it a lot easier in lockdown because I was working from home. I didn't have to commute. I didn't have to take the kids to and from school. I didn't have the social life anymore or any classes that I used to go to. So I had time on my hands, you know, because my work's really flexible as well, and I was trying to educate my children at home, do some homeschooling. I could not work for a few hours during the day and then do it in the evening. So when we were in lockdown, it's quite weird because I had a lot of time to do different things at different times of the day. So there was never that routine there, if you know what I mean. But now, obviously, back to school, back to work in the office, and classes and after school clubs and taekwondo and blah, blah, blah. It just goes on and on, doesn't it? And then obviously if you want a bit of a social life as well. So I am finding it really hard. In fact, I've tried to think to myself, well, I'll vlog at least once a week or at least once a fortnight, but I'm literally like, when can I even manage to vlog? And I have to say that vlogging, although I love doing it, has to really be at the bottom of my priority list. Obviously my family and work, you know, my family, then work, then sewing, because otherwise I won't have anything to vlog about, and then vlogging. So it is, I am struggling with that a bit at the moment. And I think a lot of people that I used to see on Instagram a lot more and on YouTube a lot more, I think now that the real world's opened again, that we are kind of struggling to fit it in, you know. And maybe if I worked part-time, or I would be able to do more, but unfortunately I can't. So it's a case of snatching time as and when. What I like to have in my mind is maybe the next 2 or 3 garments that I would like to make. And sometimes I'll kind of say to myself in a week, right, all I'm going to do this week is I'm going to sew those shorts up and I'm going to cut that pattern out. And that's kind of my target for the week. If I get anything else done, then it's a bonus. Or sometimes, you know, my husband will be it'll be his turn to bath the kids, and I'll think, oh, I'll snatch a quick half an hour. So I am literally just grabbing tiny portions of time at the moment and trying to juggle it all. So I'm not so sure I'm actually managing it at all at the moment, Gail, to be honest. But I'm doing all I can to try and satisfy all of those things. Badly, but there we go. And Gail's also asked, how do I approach sewing? Do I cut out one at a time or lots of projects on the go? Now, I always used to be a one project kind of girl. So I would not allow myself to move on to the next thing until I'd finished that project. And even if it meant I had to order something in because I'd forgotten something, I would not sew anything else until then. And again, I don't know if that was kind of a confidence thing, but as I've sewn more and more through lockdown, I can flip between 1 or 2 things. So if I've got something and I think, oh God, I needed centimetre elastic and I ain't got any left and I need to order it, then I can start on a different project if I want. So I went through a period of time a few months ago where I cut loads of patterns out in one go and had them stashed in one of my storage units. So for example, I've got my Sotis dress cut out, ready, sat in that drawer, and it's there just for if I haven't got time to do anything else. It's like my backup, if that makes sense. So I had a couple of things in there, and I've sewn one of them up, and now I've got my Sotis dress. But I don't want to sew that up now, because then if I struggle for time in a week's time or whatever, I wouldn't have anything to sew. So it's kind of like I will I will plan stuff in, but then I've got that as a bit of a backup. So ultimately, I do love doing a project and finishing it right till the end. And I try to put the rule in that you're not allowed to start another one until you've hemmed the other one, because I don't really like doing that. It's the boring bit. So I do try to be quite disciplined as I can be, but I have learnt that I can do more if I so wish. Does that make any sense? Don't think it does, Gail, sorry. And the other thing is, you've said, how do I keep my sewing space so tidy? And I remember the first day reading your message actually on YouTube and actually laughing out loud, because if you'd have seen my sewing room that day, oh my God, it was literally like a bomb had gone off. But you probably know that obviously I've redecorated this sewing room. I'm very lucky and privileged to have a small room for all my sewing stuff. So I spent a lot of time in lockdown working out the best ways to store things to ensure that I don't have a lot of clutter, because it's not a very big room. So I've got a miniature ironing board, which you might be able to just see. Can you even see the corner of it? I think you can here. I have a really lovely desk with a set of drawers. I have all of this Kallax unit with stuff, and I have this big wardrobe that's got all of the units in. So I'm really lucky because I have a lot of storage, but I also, not just the storage, but I wanted to look at the practicality of it. So for example, I've also got one of the Hobbycraft wheelie trolleys in bright pink, obviously, which is, I can wheel this out. Let's see if I can do it now, actually. You might not be able to see, oh, can you see the top of it? Look. So in there, I then have all of the stuff that I'm working on at that time, so it's not all over the place, whereas before I'd just chuck it and put pieces on the floor, and I'd be rolling over with the rollers of my chair, and you know what I'm talking about because I know you've all done it. But now I have this, and I put my project and whatever I'm working on in here, and I wheel it close to me so that I can have it wherever I want, and then I tidy that up before I finish. So I do try to be disciplined, and that's again because I'm a very visual person. So coming into a messy sewing room makes me not want to come in, which is crazy, but it's true. So I do try to be disciplined, but honestly, sometimes if you saw this place, it's just like I have to shut the door just to close my sight from it, because it's just bad. It's bad, but it's been better since I've decorated and I have updated everything, if that makes sense. What else? Right, we're already on 27 minutes. Let's do this. Oh, Aoife Ryan messaged, and she also asked a question that said, how often do you service your machine? And you know what? The shame of that question. Oh my God. So I reckon I've had my sewing machine for at least 6 years. You know what I'm going to say now, don't you? I've never had it serviced. But I was only using it once a week, literally, for years. It's only in this last year that I started using it more. Does that justify it? I don't know. But I don't have any issues with my sewing machine. I don't feel like it doesn't run correctly or anything like that. But I do know the importance of having my machine serviced. And my friends recently had one done locally and was very pleased with it. So I do know I need to do it. So what I kind of thought is, next time I go on holiday abroad, if I ever go on holiday abroad ever again, what I might do is put it into service like the day before I go, so that I don't miss it too much, and then pick it up when I get back. So yeah, let me know, everybody else, how often they service their machine, because I think I'm naughty. Right, Natalie Stanchevsky, I think, I'm really sorry if I've pronounced that incorrectly, also asked how I'm so comfortable talking to the camera. And I don't know. I wasn't the first time I did a vlog. I was incredibly uncomfortable. But you probably realise already that my style of vlog is more like a chat than anything else. So I don't feel like I'm presenting. If I was doing maybe a tutorial or sew along or something like that, then maybe I would find it more difficult. But because I'm talking about my hobby, which is something I absolutely love and I'm incredibly passionate about, I find it really easy. I just talk to my phone. Well, I'm actually talking to myself, because when I'm recording this on my phone, all I can see back is my face. So it is literally like I'm almost talking into a mirror. It's a bit weird, isn't it? But I know people kind of say, oh, it's as if I'm just talking to my mate about sewing. And I want to keep it that way. So I don't know how I'm so comfortable. But when I was younger, I did used to be into all, theatre studies and amateur dramatics and all that, darling. So I've always kind of put myself out there a bit. So I've never been too shy as such, or if I walk into a room and there's loads of people I don't know, I'm not going to say I enjoy it the first few moments, but I can handle myself. I wouldn't be particularly worried about it. I don't find it the best of situation. Say you go to a networking event. I hate networking events. And you're walking into a room and you literally don't know anybody, and there's that awkward moment where you're trying to find where the cups of tea are and all that jazz. I don't like any of that. But once I'm sat down at a table, and if there's people sat next to me, then I'll have a blather, and they'll be my best mate by the time I've left. So I think that's probably why I'm comfortable, as well as that I've always put myself out there, and I think it's just a personality thing. But I do also know that a lot of vloggers on here, when I've, listened to some of the stuff they've said, they're quite shy people in real life. And this allows them that creative outlet as such. So I think anybody can do the whole vlogging thing, regardless of whether you're introvert, extrovert. It's just whether you're comfortable with it and you want to put yourself out there. But I've never had an issue with doing that. So that's Natalie's question marked off. Right, I'm going to go do a few more because I'm already at 30 minutes. So What Not asked, what do my family think about my sewing? It's a really good question, that one, actually. I'm very lucky. I've got a very supportive husband. He knows this is my hobby and he is fully supportive of it. He would never make a comment on how much I spend on my sewing. He always compliments my sewing. And he, if I say to him, I could really do with having an hour's sewing, he'd be like, yeah, you go do that. I'll look after the kids. So I am really lucky in the fact that my husband does support it. I'm not saying he's going to suddenly get in on a vlog and get really excited and involved, but he's more than happy for me to do it, which is great for me. My kids think it's great. Obviously, I've made them pyjamas before. I've made other bits and bobs. I'm not very good at making stuff for loads of other people, though, so... but they love it, and they always come in and watch me, or my little one plays with my bloody pin cushion the whole time, and I'm like, don't do that, oh no, you're going to hurt yourself, put them back in, no, not the pointy end. And then I can't sew because I'm just completely distracted by him. But they think it's cool, and my mum, obviously, where I've made her outfit recently, she's always dead proud, and I'm really lucky because my friends are as well. So yeah, they all think it's great that I've got something that I'm passionate about and I love doing, and I'm just incredibly lucky that they support me in doing so, really. Ticking box. Right, I'm going to do two more. I'll do Sam at Frugalissima. So she asked quite a few questions. My most used pattern so far, I think, is the Agnes. Now, I'm not a serial pattern maker, not yet anyway. I tend to want to make one pattern and then flip to the next because there's so much out there, isn't there? And I want to make all the things. But I do love the Agnes top. So I think I've made 3 of those. Yeah, I've made 3 of them. But that's the most I've ever made of a pattern, if that makes sense. I think you really have to love a pattern, don't you, to want to make it over and over. But I do love my Tilly in the Buttons Lyra dress as well. And it's very rare for me to finish one and think, I quite fancy making another one of them. And I quite fancy making a Lyra, but in viscose this time, so it's softer. So that's probably my most used pattern. And Sam also asked if I'm a hacker or I'm a straight out of a packet girl. I'm a straight out of a packet girl. But I am going to move towards being a hacker. I think Sam's definitely educated me about, free patterns and how you can adapt patterns that you've already got in your stash. I'm always going to be persuaded by the pretty things, the pretty new things. Always. That's just my personality trait as well. But I do think before I wouldn't have had the confidence to do any hacking, whereas now I'm thinking, actually, yeah, the more I understand about construction and the blocks, I think, yeah, I could probably have a go at it. And I know this sounds crazy, but I'm making some pyjamas at the moment. And I was like, I really would like to add a frill onto the bottom of them. And then I went into full-on panic mode. Well, how am I going to do that? And I can't do that. It's not in a packet. It's not in a pattern piece. And I'm like, for God's sake, it's just a frill on the bottom of a pair of pyjamas. So I just need to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I think that's another thing with time constraints. when you're in a situation I'm in with, you know, full-time work and 2 young children and family life, is sometimes I don't have the brain capacity to think outside the box or the inclination to do it. I just want it to be done for me, a convenience thing really. You know, maybe if I worked less hours and I had more time, then I would be more creative in what I'm doing. But I'm hoping if I just start off with doing the odd little thing, that I will eventually end up a serial hacker like Sam. Hopefully. And Sam also asked me who my hairdresser was, which made me laugh. My hairdresser is a lovely lady who's actually a friend of mine. And I have to drive quite a way now because she used to be mobile and she's not now, and she's moved to Pontefract, so it's a bit of a drive. But she set up a little salon in her spare room and it's beautiful, and I love going there because I get to blather with her once a month. Now I have to go once a month because of grey hair. Now, for example, my dad was grey at 20. Now I am 42, 43 next month. And I have so much grey hair, it's ridiculous. And I have toyed with the idea of going fully grey in lockdown, but I just can't do it. So I'm thinking maybe when I'm 50, maybe I'll think about it again when I'm 50. But I have to go every 4 weeks and have my hair dyed. And now in lockdown, you can just imagine what that was like. So I had to buy hair dyes and do it myself every 4 weeks. And it was horrendous. Cheap, but horrendous. So I go once a month to my friend Kirsty and she gives me a pamper and we get to chat rubbish for a few hours and I absolutely love it. So there you go. And then last but not least, out of this one, there's loads more questions, but we'll do that another time, otherwise this is going to go on way too long. It's from the lovely Karen at So Little Time. And her question really made me giggle. Her question was, what is the weirdest thing about me and also my weirdest habit? Now, there are a few weird things about me, not gonna lie. The things that spring to mind, and I might think of more maybe because I'm kind of just doing this off the cuff, but I might put some maybe into my next one if I think about any more. If I ask the girls at work why am I weird, they'll probably come up with a huge list of them. But I would say I can't stand socks. I hate socks. When I say socks, I hate socks on their own. I can cope with socks if I've got a shoe on with them. But if I've just got socks on and they touch carpet, I can't stand it. It's the feel of it. I need my toes to be free, man. I mean, I've got size 8 feet as well, so they're big. But you will see me barefoot all the time. I can't stand really my feet being enclosed. I'm not a big fan. For example, these are my slippers right now. Oh yeah, sexy slippers, sexy rainbow slippers. Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of my feet being covered. I love the summer, flip-flops, sandals, oh yes please. Quickly put a shoe on rather than having to undo it and put laces and blah blah blah. But I will wear socks if I have to, but I have to put my sock on then my shoe on really quickly. I know, you asked, I gave. I'm weird, I can't help it. The only exception to that is fluffy socks. Fluffy socks I can cope with on their own actually, because they're a bit more like a slipper, aren't they? Anyway, the other thing that I can't stand that makes me go funny inside is if I've been in the bath for too long, you know, you get wrinkly fingers. If I touch a towel, if I touch anything like a dry, cottony feeling, oh God, I can't stand it. And I've always been that way, even from being a kid. Like, sometimes I have to sit with my hands out of the water in the bath. Because if I get wrinkly fingers, there's certain things I just can't touch. I'm actually laughing at myself. Can't believe I'm telling you all this. You're going to think I'm an absolute nutter. Well, more than you already think. And the other thing that I was thinking of that makes me really weird is I love corn on the cob. Oh my God, I love corn on the cob. But give me sweet corn. No, don't give me sweet corn. Do not give me that yellow stuff of death. Can't stand it. Don't put it in my salad. Don't put it warm with some peas. Do not mix it with my peas. Oh my God. Can't stand it. Don't know why. I know I know in my brain. Oh, wait a minute. I've got low power mode. I know in my brain that it is exactly the same as corn on the cob. I understand that. Psychologically, I know that that is the same thing. But I can't stand it when it's not on the cob. Corn on the cob, I could eat 3 of them in a row. Bish, bash, bosh. Particularly if it's covered in melted butter. But normal sweet corn, I can't see me changing 42. It's not going to change, is it? So yeah, that's another weird thing about me. So there's 3 weird things about me, and they are quite weird, aren't they? But I'm sure there'll be plenty more. In fact, I'm going to ask the girls at work and see if they can come up with some other things, because they think I'm a bit weird as well. And then I'll let you know on my next vlog. Right, I'm over 40 minutes now, guys, so I have blathered on. I kind of wrote a few of these down thinking, well, it's not a lot. Well, I'll probably just do a 20-minute video, but I should have known myself, shouldn't I? Should have known. So that's part 1 of my Q&A. What do you think? Are you ever going to want to tune in again? Because I'm literally a bit crazy. Maybe I shouldn't have left the weirdest thing till the end, because that's kind of what I'm leaving you with now, isn't it? But anyway, it's Karen's fault. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to put this up as quick as I can. There won't be a Friday Saves this week. Hopefully I'll manage to do one next week. God knows when I'll do part 2 of this, because it's taken me over a month to do this part, but I will try and get round to it. So if there's other questions that I haven't answered yet, don't worry, I will be doing that on the next one. I hope you've all had time to do some sewing, and I hope you've all had a wonderful week, and I hope everybody takes care, and I will see you again soon. Bye.